get hop to it. This is episode number 27 of the Sports Consiglieres podcast. I am Jim Whalen. Along with me is the voice of Woodridge football, the Woodridge girls soccer coach, and also the Woodridge girls flag football coach. My friend, my partner, my consigliere, Mr. One Jerry Calla. Jerry, how you doing?
Good, Jimmy. Great to be here. How you doing, buddy? It
Good.
seems like we've, we had, a guest the last how many episodes? So
That's 4 episodes. So we had
yeah,
Bob Robustelli, episode 23.
yep,
Son of Andy Robustelli. We had Larry Flowers, who played 5 years in the league and relocated down to Richmond, Virginia. Special teamer, also a safety. Then we had, ironically, top 25 player of all time for the Giants, George Martin, who was a pleasure to have on. Those are all the guests are a pleasure. And then Danny Gallagher, our friend up in Canada, gave us Larry Parrish, who came on the program and definitely gave us a lot of insight, especially, gave us a little distraction to the football season. So do you want to do dealer's choice or player's choice? Do you want to start off picking a topic, Jerry?
go ahead, Jimmy. Fire away. The one thing I wanted to say before you get started is the last few guests. I thought it was excellent. You had the son of a Giants legend, really a Giants legend. He wrote a book. Then we had, Larry Flowers. He came in when things started to get better in the early 80s. He actually shared a, personal story, how he had a setback, a little brush with the law, but more importantly, how he bounced back from that. Then we moved on to, which I was totally geeked, the George Martin interview. I thought George was excellent. It was a great interview. And then we ended the other day with Larry Parrish, who, again, I don't know what it is. I know Danny's listening, but man, it's something with these expos that just has our interest totally piqued, as Yankee fans. I mean, there is the feedback, as you were telling me, from Danny and, from Expo Nation, Expos Nation, because it does exist. It's phenomenal. And, we're looking to have, more expos in the near future. So
what do
go
you
ahead.
think? What do you think about baseball? You think that there's a second team up in Canada baseball? You think that's? I mean, Danny says no because there's really not a group kind of pushing that. But I don't know. Major League Baseball doesn't want to do the split season. They
Right.
tried Puerto Rico. What's your
Correct.
gut feeling? What's your gut feeling about
I mean, I guess
baseball expanding?
the old adage, never say never. I mean, if you would have told me 5 years ago that a storied franchise like the A's would be gone,
Yeah.
what are the, you look at one of the Florida teams, is that a possibility for them to go there? I mean, Larry Parrish recently, he outlined a few obstacles or a few logistical things that they would have to work out. But I mean, listen, I understand Danny's pessimism, if you will. I mean, they had their team kind of ripped out of, out of their city, which was unfortunate, obviously. But, time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see. But
And again, with the current commissioner, one never knows, because his last proposal was absolutely ridiculous. I haven't seen something like that since playing stickball in the dead end on Greenville Avenue. It's like, oh, we get a do-over.
yeah,
Oh, we
yeah.
want the ninth hitter is coming up. Let's put in let's put Ohtani up. I just don't get it. I really don't. I don't get it.
One thing about baseball is it's a traditional sport. There's a lot of people that like the tradition. They like, there's 6 plays. Ball or safe. Ball, strike, safe or out, and
Yeah.
fair or foul. So I mean, it's a simple game. So why oversimplify it? So, but anyway, with the current state of the Giants, I know we started out talking about the Hard Knocks thing, and I was optimistic of the season. Saquon Barkley was 27. I like what Shane and Dayball were doing. I think looking back here in early December, I guess how wrong I was. I'm sure I'm not alone in Giants fans. So why don't you talk a little bit about the state of our beloved Giants and what are they going to do with Sean and Dayball? Is it gonna buy, sell, or hold? So.
Well, I mean, I think you look at it. We talked about this. I mean, there's been a few people that were spot on. They thought the Giant roster wasn't any good. At the very least, my expectation was they were going to come to this time of year, the late November, early December time of year, and still be in it. That was my expectation. People are like, oh, you look at the roster, but here's the thing, right? You look at it now. They have Neighbors. His stats are good, right? I know they're not winning games, right? Tracy's stats are good up until these few injuries. Obviously the line was playing better. Up until recently, the defense was playing better, and I just really don't think that we're going to see much today. Neighbors is injured. Deontay Banks is injured.
Lawrence is injured, right?
Okora K is injured. I mean, Lawrence is out for the year. I mean, now you got the Saints coming in. They're playing well. Are they going to? Who's the only team they could possibly beat the rest of the way? The Colts. It is. It is gloom and doom. At 2-10, it's gloom and doom. I don't think that it's a fair statement to say that the first year raised expectations. They had a good run. They got the most out of their roster. But at some point, you have an owner, and what the Hard Knocks stuff showed us a lot, and they probably regret doing it because that's not really part of the Giants' DNA to do Hard Knocks. But if you look at the Hard Knocks, what it showed us is that the owner's hands off. If the owner was hands on, right, they would have re-signed Barkley. So at some point, Shane and his guys, all right, made the decision to obviously now it looks like an easy decision. They should have tagged Jones and maybe went after Barkley, but whatever. At some point, somebody has to answer for these decisions. I mean, Banks, high draft pick, doesn't look good, doesn't look promising. And again, we're talking about you can't coach effort, you can't teach effort, and boy, his effort has really been the pits.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but, on the plus side, Shane, they drafted Tracy, they drafted Neighbors. The last time when I went back to watch Hard Knocks, the one episode that was actually tickling me is when his son told him, try to trade up to get May Daniels. You only get this job once.
Yeah.
Washington, listen, Washington was not going to trade with the Giants, obviously. But I think, if they really wanted May, I think they could have had May. So, what happens now? You look at the Giants' track record, going back even to, Bob Robustelli's dad, Andy, when he was the GM. The Giants usually don't fire the coach along with the GM. They usually give the GM a little bit longer of a stay. You look at Jerry Reese and Coughlin. When that happened with Coughlin, I thought they both should have went. Reese stayed. So the Shane stay, you're in a big pickle right now. You have the number one draft pick, and this draft is not screaming quarterback. Are you going to take one because you really need one? Are you going to reach? I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, you were looking at either with the number one draft,
and you can't make the excuse of, well, the owner won. Yeah. But that's the quagmire that we're in. You hear names, Mike Vrabel. Again, I would like that move. Again, defensive guy. Now you have to bring in an offensive coordinator. Things are. There's a lot of different ways that this organization could go. I just don't want to hear that they're going to keep these guys because now, right, here's another thing, right? This regime is completing year 3, right? So let's say they draft whoever, Ward, Sanders, whoever, right? They draft their quarterback in the first round, right? You're not going to fire them after the first year. You're not going to probably fire them after the second year, right? The third year will probably be your do or die year, so to speak. So now, what did these guys earn the right to do that?
I don't know. I mean, that's the question. He's won one playoff game. So, like you said, you threw out the names there: Sanders, Ward. The Georgia quarterback is out there. So Aller from Penn State, he's out. So it's not really a good quarterback class coming out. So, and then the thing is, if you draft Sanders, the first thing you draft Sanders is, and you keep Dable, is that you're going to hear the whispers of when's Dion coming, when's Dion coming, when's Dion coming. So I don't know if that's a healthy relationship. I think I go back to the Ray Hanley days when they got rid of Ray Hanley, and they end up bringing in I think Dan Reeves, and Dan Reeves kind of right the ship. I mean that team was right the franchise, and they had some of the leftovers from the 80s, but that was an exciting team to watch because we had a big letdown after Parcells left, but then the Reeves time really kind of reignited.
Well, the first year, I mean, that was Sims had a great year statistically. Yeah. That was coincidentally Sims's last year, but then everything after that went downhill with the other Duke quarterback that we had, Dave Brown.
Yeah, well, listen, but they try. But I mean, say if they do get rid of Shane and Dable, I mean, I'll throw some names out there. Do you think they go for a retread? You said Vrabel and Belichick interviewed with University of North Carolina.
Yeah.
So I mean, college coaches. What about? Can you see Deion Sanders coming here? Can you see a Debo Sweeney coming here? Can you see a Kirby Smart coming here? Nick Saban. Can you see him getting another shot in the NFL? Lane Kiffin, Lincoln Riley. So do you see?
I think that if they keep Shane, okay, and they let Dable go, Shane is going to go, I would say, with somebody he's familiar with. I really don't think you're going to get a guy like Mike Vrabel coming in working for somebody like Shane. And let me just explain that. I think Mike Vrabel is going to want to come in with a GM. That's my opinion. Now, you got to remember, too, listen, and the Giants aren't really good. They don't rush into decisions, but they don't really – I wouldn't say they're aggressive, because if you remember, a lot of people, when they hired Joe Judge, a lot of people thought they panicked, right? Because they had McCarthy in. There was a few people that they had in that they didn't get, and they didn't really, kind of know where to go, so to speak. But the names you just mentioned, I really don't see them going to the collegiate level. I really don't.
Okay.
I don't even think, to be honest with you, here's the other question, right? A guy like Belichick, is he coming here to rebuild? He's not. I don't think he wants to take over a team to rebuild. That's my opinion. He wants it, and at the very least, he wants a team that has a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, they can work around it, absolutely. But then, others, you talk about the Bills. So if Dable goes, you got Joe Brady up in Buffalo. Kellen Moore has been, he's been kicked around.
Well, here's the thing with that, right? I think you're at a crossroad. You have to clean house, and this is where I'm going with this now. You mentioned Ray Hanley, right? And people look back on it. Oh, Ray Hanley, those were 2 bad years. Ray Hanley was 8-8 and 6-10. So just think how bad things were there. And Ray Hanley was 8-8, 6-10 with a veteran team. He totally underachieved. So you knew Dan Reeves coming in, right? He was going to have that first year was going to be a good year. He had a lot of those players. He brought in some of his ex-Broncos. Mark Jackson was one of them, who had a very, very good year.
And I think him and Elway had a bad split.
Right.
Like it was a bad.
But now you're talking about a team that might have 2 wins. You need somebody. You're not getting me excited for Kellen Moore, Joe Brady. You need somebody like a Vrabel, who's cut out of the Dan Campbell cloth, that's really going to have a cultural change in this organization.
I think that Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson. I mean, one person I would say, if you want to go back, is, I don't know, does Spagnuolo get another crack at it? He's the defensive coordinator.
They don't bring him back.
Ben Johnson, he's probably gonna be the hot topic for the Detroit Lions offense coordinator, and you also have Munkin from Baltimore. So, and then Cliff Kingsbury, he's with Washington. I don't know. I can't see him going. I can't see Washington let him go within the division. And then you have with Liam Cohen down in Tampa Bay. So if you're looking at offensive mind coaches, those are some
Yeah.
that are out there. Defense, Aaron
But
Glenn,
then again, you're assuming any of those guys, right? So now if you look at a guy like Kingsbury, right? He's done great things with Daniels overall, right? Rookie quarterback. He's done a really good job, right? He interviews for the Bears. You got Williams, or you have the Giant job, which is unknown.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I
Which
hate to
one? Which
say
one
it.
do you
I hate
think?
to say it, but
Yeah,
in that instance, the Bear job looks better.
yeah, yeah. Very true. And then you also got Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator for.
True.
He's probably. I could see him going to the Jets. I mean, I just.
Yeah.
And then you have Flores, who was reinventing himself up in Minnesota as the
Yeah.
defense coordinator. Does he come in here? He's a Belichick guy. He
Well,
had.
Flores to the Giants is obviously dicey because of the lawsuit.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, listen, but pencils have erasers, like we talked about
Yeah,
on the
that's
show
a
before.
I don't think you'll see Flores here.
No. So I mean, I think you're I think that they're going to keep everything the same the way it is. I don't think that they're going to do anything drastic. The only thing is the next thing is the quarterback.
Right.
Drew Lock is on a 1-year contract. Do you secure him up this way? You have a veteran quarter. If you draft somebody, at least you have a veteran quarterback there. But like, who else is out there?
The last game of the year, from what I've been hearing and reading and seeing, the last game of the year, I think Drew Lock leaves the stadium in his uniform, and you'll never see him again. I mean,
You think it was the DeVito thing
it was the DeVito thing. The last time he made a comment about not getting the first team snaps before the Cowboy game. I mean, it's just, again, here's the thing. There's been some bizarre things that have taken place. We don't have to revisit a lot of these things because we have spoken about these things. But looking at it, right, if you keep this regime, the Giant fan base has to be prepared to say, okay, 25, 26, and 27, they're here. You can't fire a coach after 1 year with a rookie quarterback. You can't.
Well, yeah.
And then if you get a caretaker type situation, where you bring in somebody and you bring somebody along slowly, you got to give them 3 years.
Well, I mean, is it going to go like a Kurt Warner thing when they brought Kurt Warner in, and then when Eli got drafted? Because I mean, the quarterbacks that are out there, you got Sam Darnold, Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, possibility he's on it. Garoppolo is out there; he's still out there. So I mean, you don't really have too many choices out there as far as veteran quarterbacks.
Which I know
Wentz,
it's the Giants, right? It's still the Giants. The Giants, great organization, a lot of history, a lot of tradition. There's better jobs out there.
Yeah. And what about Russell Wilson? You see that Russell Wilson? I mean, he's up on a 1-year deal.
Great year, 1 year, $5 million, and he visited the Giants.
Yeah. So I mean, only thing I think New York's got going for him, if somebody wants to get into television, this is the place to. If somebody's in the twilight of their career and wants to get into television, this is the market to kind of be in. So I think that's the only thing really New York has going for them, other than some of the other jobs.
Well, I mean, it's still the Giants, right? It's always the Giants, right? Even as bad as the Yankees were, in some of those seasons in the 80s, I mean, they were still the Yankees, right? But, listen, here's the thing, right? The Jones thing, I just thought it was just very peculiar and somewhat bizarre the way that kind of twisted and turned. I mean, that was just, I don't think anybody would have predicted, the ending, the way it ended, that was going to happen, and that's the other thing about Shane, right? You look at the Hard Knocks, he made no bones about it. You could have put a gun to his head. He had the one staff member, his name escapes me for the moment. He was like, "Are you sure nobody's going to give Barkley this money?" And Shane couldn't have made it any clearer in Hard Knocks. He had no intention to re-sign Barkley, right? He had no intention to re-sign McKinney. That's great. If that's a decision you make, why not try to move those guys at the deadline, just like this year, right? And I don't want to hear, well, the value wasn't there, right? One egg is better than no eggs, right? You let them walk anyway. So you have to get something. Now you look at this year, right? They could have unloaded Aziz Ojulari. They could have unloaded Slayton. I love Slayton. Slayton's probably my favorite player now, right? I don't think these guys stay, he's not coming back, right? But you could have unloaded both of those. Now to see those guys the second year in a row, to see you're in a quote unquote all around rebuild, and now you're having another two players just walk for nothing. And I know the NFL is not Major League Baseball, it's not the NBA where there's trades, but still, you mean to tell me that Slayton wouldn't look good, right, in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform? I'm just using that as an example. I mean, the guy is good for 700 yards a year, right, from who the Giants had under center. So let alone if he went to a good team, he's a solid 2-3 receiver. And now you're going to see that guy walk for nothing. And those are the things that I deem bizarre. Like, you're not signing these guys. So if you get a 5th round draft pick, so be it.
Yeah, it's a 5th round draft pick.
It's a 5th round draft pick. You knew you weren't signing. You weren't going to sign Xavier McKinney, who might be the defensive player of the year. And we can keep going. Lennon Williams is playing well. Julian Love is playing well. Ben Breedis is playing well.
I just think that it couldn't, with Barkley and McKinney, it couldn't have gone any worse.
For Shane, absolutely.
If Barkley got hurt, then they could say, okay, they made the right decision. But
Barkley is on pace to break the all-time, rushing record, at least be up there. And at the very least, he's probably the MVP.
And we were pointing a finger at Philly about they had to win.
Yeah.
And here they are. They're sitting pretty. I mean, there's no rumblings about their coach anymore. It sounds like it just seems like they're sitting pretty, and Barkley's a big part of that. So, but
and
where do they go from here?
He was playing tremendous.
Yeah, but then where do they go from here? Because I guess they got Simmons, Jackson, Manhurts, and their long snapper up, and then I guess top free agents. A lot of them are wide receivers. There's really no quarterbacks out there, or really.
No, you'd have to hope for like a salary cap casualty, But I think, listen, just remember this. I would be surprised if Shane and Dable do get fired. However, I remember I was shocked that he fired Judge, because he gave Judge the vote of confidence, and then Judge didn't get fired right away. If you remember, when they fired Judge, it was like 2 weeks after everything was kind of over. So it was a little weird when the way that situation played out. I just hope that they're not, he's not going to, because John Mara, again, I get it. He's hands off. You look at that Hard Knocks stuff, he wanted Barkley, and he said, if he goes to Philly, I'm not going to be able to sleep. Well, he must have hasn't slept in 4 months, then 3 months. Then, so.
He's probably throwing up in the toilet now every time he wakes up, because every time. But like, it's, and I don't know. Barkley seems reignited. Would that have happened if he stayed with the Giants? So it seemed like he's running.
Well, again, I mean, listen, Philadelphia is obviously a much better team than the Giants, but the reality of it is that he got paid to do a job, and he's doing it very, very well. Would he have those same numbers, behind this offensive line? Probably not. But that's really a moot point. I mean, you can't look at it like that. I mean, it's just like you said, the McKinney, the Barkley stuff, and then there's other moves too. Like you're hard up. You signed Van Roten right before the season at the end of camp, and Breederson, who you let go, is having a very good season, for the Buccaneers. So, I mean, there's a few moves. And then again, you look at his draft class, Hyatt, he's been, he hasn't done anything. Banks looks like a head case. This year's draft class, he's on the money. Tracy, solid, having a good year as a rookie. Neighbors, we can talk about him all day. Tyler Nubin, this draft class is pretty good.
And also Phillips, Thibodeau.
Yeah, Phillips, absolutely. So, and of course, how could I'd be remiss, Theo Johnson.
Yeah,
it's a shame that he got hurt. He was looking solid. He was really coming into his own.
So what do you think happened this season? Like where did the wheels come off the car? Like where do you think the wheels came off this season?
Well, I mean, the quarterback play obviously was suspect. I mean, that goes without saying with Jones. The the thing that, the defense, that's a whole nother story now because, the defense is 100% absolutely brutal against the run. And I don't think anybody saw that coming. I think at the beginning of the season, obviously Jones, the offense was a question mark. Neighbors, are they going to get Neighbors the ball? Is Hyatt going to rebound? Is Hyatt going to be involved in the offense? Nobody really wanted, everybody thought Singletary was going to be the guy in the backfield. And, again, I just think that you look at this team, everybody wants to talk about the quarterback. Okay. So, yes, and I know Daniel Jones was 3-14 in his last 17 games, right? Now we're on our third quarterback, right? It's our fourth quarterback in 2 years. Nothing has really changed under center. There's a lot of holes, right? Defensively, their run defense stinks. It's going to be even more difficult. Thibodeau's injury, Ojulari can't stay on the field, Burns, beginning of the year, everybody thought this was going to be a three-headed monster. Like, Burns, Thibodeau, Ojulari, Dexter Lawrence is going to get triple teamed. This is going to be an offensive line's nightmare. I mean, Jesus. I mean, I could rush for 100 yards.
Yeah, they're running right up the gut too. Like that's the most vulnerable part, of the offense, and they're running right between the tackles. So, but so they got the Saints this weekend. Hopefully that, like I said, they're playing better.
And offensively, they don't have an identity too. I mean, that's the other thing. Both sides of the ball. If you look at both sides of the ball, they don't have an identity on offense, right? Defensively, I like Shane Bowen. I know people want him fired, and again, it's coincidence, right? If everybody, I was reading something the other day, they were like, bring in Mike Vrabel, he's going to fire everybody. No, he's not, because Bowen was his guy. Shane Bowen was his guy in Tennessee, right? But you look at it, they don't have an identity. And the one play, and I know people are going to think that I'm out of my mind for saying this, right? It was 2 games ago, 4th and 1, and they run a goddamn jet sweep, right? Giant football, run the ball in between the tackles, pounding ground. It's just, and they just don't have an identity.
Yeah. Well, and I think also too, like the second game again, they should have won the first game in Washington. The second game, they're running the ball, and next thing you know, Jones turns around and passes and it's intercepted.
Yeah, he went away.
So it's just like it's the stuff like that as a fan just drives you crazy. So I mean, they got the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, again, Jimmy, you raised the question. Where did things go wrong? I mean, we could start doing a checklist here. I'm not really in love with his play calling. He stripped that hard out of Kafka.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, listen, what do they say, right? He had the problem with Martindale. All right. So that's one coordinator gone. Then you took the play calling from another coordinator, right? Like they say, a cat has 9 lives. Usually the head coach, after you do these things, right? Now it's on you. It's on you to produce it. I think his play calling, it has a lot to be desired.
Well, and I also thought we spoke after the game in Germany, and you brought the point up when we were talking off camera, like Kurt Warner, how many throws that Jones missed.
Yes.
And then, you're saying too, I'm surprised somebody didn't get fired on the way back on the plane, because they played, they played against Carolina, which is, there were 2 bottom feeders in the league.
Carolina, nobody had them losing that game.
So
very frustrating. And it was more than Tracy's fumble in that game. There was a lot of things that went wrong. And then again, you talk about 4th and 1 running a jet sweep. How about the amount of penalties they had on Thanksgiving? Somebody has to answer for these things. Somebody has to answer for penalties.
And like I said, there was a lot. We talked about this earlier in the season. There's a lot of drop passes too. I mean, so, but they're finishing up. They have the Saints this weekend. They have Ravens, Falcons, Colts, and Eagles. Eagles game, they're definitely not winning. I would say that. I mean, if it is, that would be an emotional game. It's at down in Philly. I mean, the Colts is a game that they could win. The Falcons is, who you don't know what the Falcons team is going to show up. So I mean, they've been helter skelter all year, and then
they're not beating Baltimore, and the Saints are playing very well.
So
I don't think they're going to lose every game. I think they'll win one game.
So like 1-5 going down the stretch.
I think they'll
Or
win one more game.
1-4 going down the
1 and
stretch.
4, it'll take them to 3-14 on the year,
Right.
which I don't think anybody had them only winning 3 games.
No way. No way. I mean, from what I saw, no
6,
way.
7.
Yeah. Hey, 6-7 you can live with. Three games is, you're you're back to looking up, and especially, with Philly being on top. Washington looks like now that they turn things around with Daniels. So, Dallas, who knows? Dallas is still Dallas, so,
Yep.
but going forward, what do you think about the Knicks and your Red Bulls?
Well, the Knicks are playing very well. Offensively, they look like they're in sync. I'm very happy that they got the cat. We'll have to table the NBA talk, I think, a little while. Because tomorrow, and I know we never really have talked soccer on the show, but tomorrow, I mean, my son and I we got very, very emotional in a good way last Saturday. I mean, this is only for the Red Bulls. This is only the second time the Red Bulls will be in MLS Cup. The last time they lost 3-1 to Columbus, that was 2008. Again, what makes sports so special is this Red Bull run, if you will. They were the 7th seed. Nobody saw this coming. The first round, they beat Columbus, which was tremendous.
Yeah,
Defending
and
champs.
Columbus has a great fan base too. It's a hard place to
Yes,
play.
and they're the defending champs.
Yeah.
Then to beat New York City, the way they did, at City Field, again, and now then going into Orlando, winning 3 road games. There was only one other instance, which was the Chicago Fire, I believe, that has ever won 3 road games in the playoffs. And like I said, the Red Bulls were the 7th seed. And ultimately, where I'm going with this is what makes sports so special sometimes, because you really enjoy it a little bit more because you don't see this coming. And I sat there in Harrison in Red Bull Arena, as Steve Cangelosi calls it, the Cathedral of American Soccer, and left there disappointed year in, year out, bringing in Thierry Henry, Rafa Marquez, Tim Cahill, Frank Ross. It's been a lot of big names have come in over the years. Just when you thought that they were in a good position to do some damage in the postseason, they would pull the rug out from underneath you, and you would say, wow, I can't believe we were sent home. And this year, Amel Forsberg, he's from Sweden. He's the captain. He's come in. He actually came from one of the other Red Bull teams. Very professional player. And what I really like about this team is the bite that they have, and they have a lot of homegrown talent from New Jersey, which is nice to see. And they didn't go crazy bringing in the big names. They brought in some nice pieces. Felipe, unfortunately, he won't be able to. Doesn't look like he's playing Saturday. But Emil Forsberg, Carlos Cornell is playing well as their goalkeeper. Probably going to. I mean, Jesus, if they win tomorrow, I mean, he might have a statue of him outside Red Bull Arena, because this is what I like about this is that we talk about Giants on this show. We talk about Giants, Yankees, Knicks. We're de facto Expos followers. We got to get Danny to get us membership cards. But
Yeah.
what's so special about the Red Bulls is this is a big deal, and I really thank the New York Post for the last few days, including today, of giving good coverage for their playoff run, because it's a big deal. And they're a flagship franchise. 96, they were the Metro Stars, and then they became the Red Bulls. And you want to see a flagship franchise finally get their due and win MLS Cup. It'll be so special, for the fans. I'm so looking forward to this game tomorrow, 4:00 against the LA Galaxy out in LA.
So, I mean, we're talking about the MLS. We talked about this at the start of the episode. I mean, just the viewership. I think ever since they signed who's the one who married
Oh, David Beckham.
yeah, as soon as they signed Beckham, then
Yeah.
next thing you know, they started the viewership started coming up. I mean, they had Valderrama they signed in '96. Now you have um
The homegrown, the league has gotten better. Anybody that's followed the league will tell you it's gotten better. Now, I'm not going to sit here, and I don't want to sound like a Euro snob. Obviously, it doesn't compare to the Premier League. It doesn't compare to some other leagues, but the league has gotten better. And again, what's starting to happen is that the league needs to continue to grow because ultimately we need the MLS to support our national team. And right now, there's a few guys that's really not happening because our better players are playing elsewhere, which is okay. We just need more players in MLS, to be a part of our national team because I think, the MLS and United States soccer haven't been, arm in arm as much as they should. And, again, the league has gotten better. People are going to make the argument about the viewership. Well, they have more teams. Yeah, but listen, this Apple TV thing has exploded. Messi obviously has contributed to that. But that's why, in a roundabout way, I was so happy that Miami got eliminated in the playoffs because I think Miami winning the MLS Cup would have just gave into the perception that, these guys come over to the United States. They come over for their last paycheck, their last hurrah, and these guys kind of walked into this and walked away with a trophy. And that didn't happen. Miami was eliminated by the 8th seed this year, Atlanta United, which was nice to see because I think it just validates it a little further. People still think Messi's the greatest player of all time. Hey, he came over here. Yes, obviously he's older, but he just didn't walk through this league like it the way it used to be with some of these European players.
Yeah, and just yourself, like I mean, growing up in Jersey City, how did you become a soccer fan? How did?
Well, again, my taste, and unfortunately, I caught the tail end of it. Like yourself, is that we had probably the greatest talent assembled in the United States on one team playing in Giant Stadium, which was the New York Cosmos.
Yes.
Unfortunately, by the time that I got around to it, we caught the tail end of that. That league, I think that league doesn't get enough credit because that league made so many mistakes, taking off too fast, expansion too fast, that the when the MLS came into play, they learned from those mistakes, and that's why the MLS is what it is today. Which is why the commissioner, by the way, just got his contract extended, rightfully so.
So, what's your prediction for the game at LA? What's your prediction?
1-0 Red Bulls. I'm really going out on a limb with that because that was the result of the last two games. Red Bulls are tactically disciplined. They're defending very, very well, and when the opportunities have come, they're cashing in on they're capitalizing on their opportunities. They're playing very smart. They're tactically very sound. I am absolutely gaga over the coach, Sandro Schwartz. He came over from Germany, and he's done a great job. He's really acclimated well to the MLS. He has a pretty big resume on him, and I'll never forget the first impression that New Jersey made. You'll get a kick out of this. Is he went in to eat in a diner, and he was blown away, him and his family, by the portions that we're used to over here in the United States. So he's acclimated well to being a Jersey resident.
So if they do win, where's the celebration? Are they gonna close on Harrison?
Listen, if they win, I expect to be somewhere in Harrison Monday or Tuesday morning. It has to be. Listen, it can't be in New York. It has to be. I think what they should do is they should do something in Harrison, maybe bring him into the stadium, do something like that. Because New York City is New York's team.
Yeah, well, and also our governor, like him, hate him, or indifferent,
he's a soccer guy.
He's a soccer guy. He's not gonna bow. He's not gonna bow to New York City. So,
and the stadium has been good. The stadium has been good for Harrison. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
you know
it's
that
and it's
that would be great.
it's starting to get a cult following too. Like you're starting to
Yes.
get a good fan base there. So all right,
Um,
Jerry.
I think
Well,
that's a wrap, right? What do we have? We have another episode coming next week.
yeah, we got another Expos episode. Like I said, we're de facto Expos fans. So Danny Gallagher, he's we got to put him on a payroll because he's getting us some Expos players. So this is episode number 27 of the Sports Consiglieres podcast. Just find us on social media. Also, I'd like to thank our producer Dave Sturcio from Chop Sports Media, who helped me start podcasting and helped us with this show. We're also on Patreon too, which is it's a site where you can get a membership, ask us questions when we have guests. We'll try to promote the guests and see if we can ask them. Right now, I don't think we have anybody, so we have probably our 4 or 5 people that we work with that are probably following the show. But other than that,
Hold on, Jimmy. Hold on.
all right.
I would be remiss. I got a very good text message the other day. He said he loves the podcast. It's our favorite high school basketball coach, Path Midnights,
Okay.
James McComber.
James McComber, Old Bridge High School.
Jimmy,
So,
baby. Jimmy's
yeah,
still killing it in high school hoops, baby. I
yeah.
told Jimmy we were going to give him a shout out.
Well,
So
definitely.
my son is a senior in high school, and I started coaching him in basketball in 5th grade. So from 5th to 8th grade, Jimmy gave me a very nice offense that I could run. So
Yeah. Yeah. It just and the best thing of Jim McCumber's story is when he lost to, I think it was North Brunswick and New Brunswick in the Middlesex County Finals, where the kid's taking a shot, the buzzer goes off, he releases it, and they count the basket. That was his best team, and they didn't win the Middlesex
yeah,
County.
that was how many years ago?
That'd be about 7, 8 years. I think it was a long time ago. Jimmy's been
Yeah,
in the
I
game
was
a
going to
long
say
time.
about 10 years.
So, but anyway, shout out to Jimmy. I'm glad he's watching. So, at least we're building a fan base one person at a time. So,
That's him and Pat Monahan.
Pat Monahan, yeah, and the silent killer Daryl Fulton too. I see him liking stuff on.
And Manny the golfer.
Yeah. So this is episode number 27. Look for we're gonna try
Jimmy,
to close
before we sign off, though, here we go.
Red Bulls.
1-0, baby. 1-0 tomorrow, 4 p.m.
It's gonna be hectic in Harrison. Is that's what's gonna happen? It's gonna be.
I hope there's a parade, baby.
Yeah. All right, this is episode number 27. I'm Jim Whalen. This is Jerry signing off. Once again, follow us on social media. Contact us through social media if you have any interesting quotes. Like I said, I'd like to thank Dave Sturcio for helping us produce this, Chop Sports Media. If you're interested in podcasting or anything else, as far as film related, he's a good resource on that. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the games. We got the playoffs coming up this weekend. So, and be well, stay well. Jerry, I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, everyone.